Hello, I'm the Board Game Captain, and welcome to the Board Game Captain Reviews. Today, I will be reviewing a card game called Gothic Doctor by Meltdown Games. Whoops, wrong side. There it is, Meltdown Games. Now, this is a card game that my wife and I purchased at Gen Con, the game convention Gen Con, a few years ago. As you can see, mine was an early edition. It was before their wide release. I've played it quite a few times since then, and definitely feel I've played it enough to review it, and give you my opinion on it and recommendation. Now, the theme of the game is great. The theme is that you are a doctor in the 1800s treating characters from Gothic literature. So Gothic horror stories and dark comedies, things like that. Now, they have generic patients, which are things that would show up in many stories. For instance, like a vampire. Here's a vampire. Or a werewolf. Here's a werewolf. Or a witch. As well as many others. But then they have legendary patients. And the legendary patients are what really give this game its character. They borrow patients from very famous stories. So I have a few pulled out here to show you. For instance, here is the Headless Horseman. Of course, from the Legend of Sleepy Hollow, a classic dark comedy. Then we have here the Invisible Man, of course, from the book of the same name by H.G. Wells. Quite a few movie versions have been made off that. And then Roderick Usher from the Fall of the House of Usher. We've also got even more famous characters like Dracula and A Bride of Dracula, etc. Now, the theme is incredibly engaging, incredibly fun. The references are great. I get a kick out of it when I see characters from literature and movies show up in my games, and this is a perfect example of that. I find that both experienced gamers and casual gamers really do enjoy the theme. It's very engaging. It gets you involved. It gets you interested. I have a lot of friends that just like to do beer and pretzel board game nights. We sit down, we have some beers, we play some games, and they love this. I do a lot of more involved games that I would never play with them, but I love this too. This is a great game, and definitely appeals, again, to both the casual and the serious gamer as well. Now, the gameplay of it is simple enough to explain in about 5 minutes, but varied enough, again, to keep your interest through game after game and keep the replayability going. You have a doctor's waiting room of patients out. And now you're all doctors, and you can all make attempts to treat said patients. The patients are worth money. The money is your points, of course. So now lesser patients are worth lesser amounts of money. For instance, here is a werewolf, and you can see that he is worth 50 pounds on the bottom there. I'll show it to you. Now, of course, the money's all in English currency. There are patients worth as little as 25 pounds, and the legendary patients go up to 75 pounds. So again, here is Roderick Usher, who has a treatment cost of 75 pounds, so he pays you, the doctor, 75 pounds when you correctly treat him. Now, your hand is made up of a mixture of two kinds of cards. You have cards from the treatment deck. Here's the treatment deck. And you have cards from the action deck. Here is the action deck. Now, the treatment deck is the far more important deck because it is how you treat your patients and get your money. The action deck is more of a side thing. I generally don't... Now, even though you can choose up to your full hand limit how many cards you have from each deck, most people don't usually seem to have more than 1 or 2 cards from the action deck at a time, and 2 seems like a lot. 1 is usually normal, because you need the treatment cards to treat the patients. It's very important. Now, you have a medical library of treatments out, plus the deck itself that you can draw randomly from when you're redrawing up your hand to get treatments to treat your patients. Treatments are things like, as an example, here is trepanation, which, if you're not familiar, was the old medical practice of drilling a hole in your skull. They actually used to do this. Gotta love it. Gotta love the advancements in medical science. Then here we have silver pin acupuncture, a little tongue-in-cheek there. That's kind of fun. And another tongue-in-cheek card, this is the Fang Extraction. So now, in the top left-hand corner of each of the treatment cards, there's a very handy symbol. And in reality, this is the only thing you need on the treatment card. The picture, the description, that's just fun. But up here, if you can see that symbol of a dentist pulling a vampire fang, up there in the corner there, it's just a little symbol of a fang being pulled out. That is what's important. And the reason is, when you are treating your patients, you will see in their upper left-hand corner the symbols of what treatments are required. So this vampire requires fang extraction. That's the first thing. He requires I believe it's called an herbal remedy, but it's the little symbol of the garlic there. And he requires holy water for treatment. Now, if you get those 3 cards in your hand, you can treat him, and then he is worth 50 pounds. Then you replace him in the waiting room, and the next player gets to go. Of course, you get to draw back up to your full hand size, so on and so forth. There is one special treatment option. It is a treatment card called the Panacea. Panacea is a Joker card. It can be used to treat anything, but when you are treating the legendary characters like Mr. Roderick Usher here, he actually requires a Panacea there on the bottom. In addition to requiring a good shave and a trepanation and some holy water, he actually requires a Panacea. You can use extra Panaceas to treat the other things like you normally do with lesser patients as well. So that's a general gist of the game. You've also got action cards, though. Action cards do interesting things. They tell you when you can use them, and there is a normal phase when you can use action cards every turn, and they allow you to do things like remove people from the waiting room or make it harder for one of your opponents to cure their next patient. They don't directly help you win, but they help make the game more interesting and varied, which is great. The other thing I want to touch on briefly is bonuses. There are 2 kinds of bonuses. There is the Generalist Bonus. Now, there are different suits of patients, and the Generalist Bonus basically is that if you get 1 each of the suits Bestial, Insane, Phantasmal, Reanimated, Sanguinolent, and Scientific, you get the Generalist Bonus, which is worth 50 extra pounds. Now, there's enough of these that everyone can get one, and that's great. You also then get a random selection of Specialist bonuses. Now, with the specialist bonuses are worth 75 pounds, and your couple of random selected specialist bonuses can only be obtained once. And the way the specialist bonus is, you have to have a minimum of 3 of that suit of patients and the most of anyone playing at the table. As long as you do, you get a 75-pound bonus to your income, and after you go through the entire night of treating patients, whoever has the largest income wins. Here's a little look at the night time tracker. It starts at 8 p.m. and you work your way all the way up till 5 a.m. when you count up your cash. So, that's the gist of how this game is played. It's a little difficult for me to hide the fact that I like this game. I find it very enjoyable. On BoardGameGeek.com, I gave it 7 out of 10 stars, which is for I will play this when anyone asks. And that is a very accurate rating for me. If anyone asks to play this game, I will never say no. I enjoy this game quite a bit. It's not one of the greatest games in the world, but it is a lot of fun, great over a few beers, not too complicated, while still having a depth of mechanics to keep it interesting, to keep the games fresh. The action cards keep it fresh and varied. It allows every game to play a little differently and not just be the same thing over and over again. The theme is also really, really great. I touched on that before, but I want to reiterate. The artwork is beautiful. I love these cards. They're funny. They're interesting. Here's a picture of a lab assistant, obviously inspired by Igor there. So my sum up is, if you see this game for sale, and anything I have told you sounds interesting to you, if you like Gothic literary characters. If you think the idea of treating Gothic literary characters as a doctor and competing to get the most money as a Victorian quack sounds like fun, buy this game. It is a medium length game. They listed as 20 minutes to 45 minutes. I'd say half an hour is about right. It's not a tiny little filler game. It's not a giant thick 4X game. It's somewhere in the middle. You can play this. You can still play a couple other small to medium games over the course of the evening. I highly recommend it. And again, I gave it 7 out of 10 stars. For a second opinion, I'm just going to ask Lynn. Lynn, how many stars would you give this out of 10?
8.
8. Oh, well. So she liked it even more than I did. There you have it, and I will see you next time on the Board Game Captain. If you liked, please like and subscribe. If you like this video, if you think this video will help you to make a decision in buying a game, or if you just find my voice deep and relaxing and helping to cure your insomnia. Anyway, see you next time.